How's it going, folks? And welcome to another episode of our venture in the visual novel Adventure of a Lifetime. Last episode, we got to learn more about the sea and learning about rip currents and how deadly they can be as to pulling anyone caught into it just out into the abyss, I think? For lack of a better term, we can say the abyss and whatnot, the abyss of the sea. So yeah, the sea is beautiful, but of course it does have its danger, so it's important for us to know exactly what we're getting ourselves into so we know how to counteract it, which is very important. Always be knowledgeable and wise about what you're doing, where it is, the time, and everything. And we also learned about the festival coming up last episode and the Bond Festival and whatnot, and what is the meaning behind it. So during that, during the setup and everything, Emily and Hiroki were watching a video on his smartphone, and Chisa came over and asked them what they were watching, so let's see exactly what they were watching. She snuck a peek at the screen. That didn't sound good. She is nervous as all heck for that interview. Oh boy. They're watching your interview, no? That TV show you were on. We found it on a video site. Oh, so it's an archive. Oh my.
しょうがないでしょ。テレビに出るのなんて初めてだったんだから。
Makes sense.
九太郎とはいつも一緒に泳いでます。でもこの子いたずらばっかりして本当に困ったイルカで。
Oh boy.
とぼけるんじゃないの。テレビの人たちに水かけちゃダメ。
I hope they've got water insurance on their gear. There is somewhat of an insurance like that. I forget what it's called, though. And that's when Chisa grabbed the phone.
おしまいおしまい。チサってしっかりしてるようで案外可愛いところあるのね。また一つあなたのことを好きになったわ。
Hey, Chisa, you got another fan! Look, all the comments say cute too. Wow, that changed her attitude real quick, didn't it? Oh wait, looks like they were talking about Finn.
Hiroki!
Just kidding. They called you cute too.
楽しかった。後でブックマークしとこっと。
Oof.
エミリー。
That's kind of scary.
だって嬉しいんだもん。チサにも苦手なことがあったんだって。いっぱいあるわよ、そんなの。
Don't we all?
例えば秘密よ。あんたに弱みを握られるなんて嫌だもんね。
I'm sure Hiroki knows.
ケチンボ。ああ、せっかくいいとこ連れてってあげようと思ったのに。
Wait, what?
知らない。
Chisa took some ice cream out of her grocery bag and started eating. She turned the other way silently in an effort to show she was ignoring us.
あ、アイス、私も欲しい。知らない。
Oof.
怒らないでよ、チサ。早くしないとアイス溶けちゃうわ。
Chisa sulkily handed over the rest of the ice cream. Oh yeah, what did you mean by someplace nice? Don't think I forgot already. Look at that face. That face. Oh, too funny.
マグロ穴よ。
Explain.
マグロ穴？何それ？
Yes, please do tell. Oh, I've heard of that. It's one of the best diving spots in Ogasawara.
あそこでスノーケリングしましょう。それなら機材をレンタルしなくて済むでしょ。ヒロキのカメラも試せるし。
Oh, great idea! Emily owned her own mask and snorkel, but always had to rent other diving equipment. Renting was sort of a pain since it was sometimes difficult finding the perfect fit. And since masks and snorkels weren't that expensive anyway, most people ended up buying their own. Of course, I had mine too. Chisa was a big help as she was able to handle the outrigger canoe and could act as our guide.
でも、なんかそんな気分じゃなくなっちゃったわ。帰って昼寝でもしましょうか。ごめんちさ、笑ったりして悪かったわ。だからお願い。
Emily wasted no time in putting on her puppy dog eyes for Chisa.
ちさ。こいつ、自分の可愛さを最大限の武器にしようって。
Only if you allow it to, Chisa. Only if you allow it to. Which apparently you did! With that, Chisa was defeated by Emily's cute bomb, and we finally set out for the Tuna Hole. The outrigger canoe sailed across the peaceful sea.
今日も波は穏やかね。
ああ、これなら潜れそうだな。
Ryota answered while watching the waves. Sorry for making you join us on this dive trip, Ryota.
気にすんな。
Ryota was joining the three of us today. It would take an hour and a half to get to the Tuna Hole at Yomeyama. And once there, we couldn't just leave the canoe unattended. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yomejima. An uninhabited island in the Ogasawaras. It had residents before the war, but is now deserted. It is located about 50 kilometers north of Chichijima. Speaking of, there were a lot of islands in the Ogasawara chain, but most only lived on Chichijima and Hahajima. People used to live on the other islands, but it was hard to guarantee basics like clean water, so they mostly deserted. They were mostly deserted. Chichijima had Futami Port, an entry point for the Ogasawara Islands, so it was relatively well populated and developed. And here we go over here, Hahajima. Aside from Chichijima, this is the only other populated island in the Ogasawaras. Hahajima is located 50 kilometers south of Chichijima and has fewer inhabitants. Oki Village is Hahajima's only settlement and is next to the island's port. Iwo Jima, the largest in the chain, is unpopulated and hosts only a Japan Self-Defense Forces base. I see. Hahajima had fewer people, and as a result, more of the environment in the area was left. Okay. Hahajima had fewer people, and as a result, more of the environment in that area was left untouched.
ずいぶんと遠いのね。私、お尻が痛くなってきちゃった。
Emily was starting to complain.
お、見えてきたぞ。
何あれ？
Next to the rocky, uninhabited island, a huge arc-shaped rock formation leapt from the surface of the ocean. It was like something from an epic adventure movie.
あそこが嫁島。でもって、あれがマ マグロ穴よ。
The Tuna Hole, a natural arched rock formation on Yomejima in the Ogasawaras. Scores of the dog-toothed tuna live around it, making it very popular with divers. There are also many other fish species and dolphins are common. So if you're lucky, you might just meet one.
穴って言うから、てっきり海の中に洞窟みたいなのがあるんだと思ってたわ。
似たようなもんだ。
小笠原って面白い場所がたくさんあるのね。
You think her fear or hatred of the sea has been broken by this? We'll find out. The formation was probably another product of coastal erosion. A volcanic island arc like Ogasawara had lots of places like this. As we got closer to the Tuna Hole, we saw a lot of other boats out for diving.
こんにちは。どうも。
Sorry folks, but I don't see any boats. For Chisa's family, these were all industry acquaintances. The ones that knew Chisa greeted her as we passed by.
今日はプライベートで遊びに来たんです。流れの方はどうですか？
Chisa asked, collecting information from some of the professional guides.
どうやら潜っても大丈夫そうね。潜っちゃいけない日もあるの？
ここは流れが速いからな。荒れてる時は危なくて潜れないんだ。
そうなんだ。
Emily's expression became uneasy when she heard about the fast currents. You'll be fine as long as you're careful. Plus, we'll be with you.
そうそう。だからいつもみたいに調子に乗らないこと。調子に乗ったことなんてないわ。いつもっていつの話をしているの？自覚症状なしか。
Chisa shook her head sadly as she took off her sweatshirt. Emily and I were already in our swimsuits. We just needed to put on our fins, masks, and snorkels, and we were set to go.
チサもマスクをつけるの？たまにはね。今日は九太郎もいないし。
Watch him show up out of nowhere. Oh yeah, you're not gonna call him?
いたずらしてマグロを驚かせちゃいそうだし。それにこの辺りは他のイルカもよくいるしね。
Pods of bottlenose dolphins showed up a lot around the Tuna Hole. This was another reason the Tuna Hole was one of the Ogasawara's main diving spots.
ねえ、早く行きましょう。はいはい。
Chisa put on her masks and fins and went in first. Okay, Emily, you're next. Now that it was her turn, Emily suddenly got nervous about diving without a tank.
どうしたのエミリー？もしかして怖いの？
Oh, here it goes.
怖くなんてないわよ。
You may not be scared, but try not to be reckless. Emily switched to tough girl mode and jumped in. After I watched her jump in, I picked up the camera. All right, I'm off too. We should be back in an hour.
おう。
I said to Ryota before jumping in the other two. Chisa and Emily were still treading in place, their faces above water.
ヒロキ、カメラ大丈夫？
Yep. I had it hanging around my neck so it wouldn't get lost in the water. It was kind of heavy, but not enough to pull me down.
それじゃあ行くわよ。はぐれないように気をつけて。特にエミリー。
Chisa set her snorkel and went down. It's going to be gorgeous down there. I said to Emily, who, in a sudden show of bravery, set her snorkel and went under. I watched until I was sure she was okay. Then I joined. The light shone softly through the transsucculent sea. I steadied myself and looked down. The scene that unfolded before my mask was beyond anything I had ever imagined. I actually went snorkeling before in the Bahamas. It was awesome. I was speechless. It's not like I could talk anyway, but I almost forgot to breathe too. Next to me, Emily and Chisa were both under the exact same spell.
すごい数。あれ全部マグロなの？綺麗ね。
The huge arched rock formation of the Tuna Hole continued all the way to the seafloor. Between its two columns swam several schools of tuna. Their scales sparkled from the sunlight beaming down from above. We didn't bother with swimming and just floated there near the surface to watch the scene for a while. The tuna were gathered in a shade of the arch. It was a mysterious sight, and no one really knew why they gathered in this one spot. Some people say it was to spawn, but no one was sure.
見て、あれ大きい。
Emily said excitedly as she pointed. A giant tuna over 2 meters long was passing directly below us. Emily went deeper, as if she was being drawn down to it. Emily?
任せて。
Chisa dived down to swim next to Emily. When she did, the huge tuna swam up next to them.
でっか！
Next to the massive fish, the two young girls looked even smaller than usual. I hurried to catch a picture of the scene with the camera. I wonder if I got it. If I had, it would make a great picture. From then on, I took pictures like my life depended on it. With a film camera, you couldn't stop and develop the pictures halfway through. That would waste the rest of the film roll. So I started taking pictures of everything, trying to use up the whole roll. I snapped pics of the school of tuna as the two girls watched in amazement. The light coming from the right above us was perfect. And this might be my only chance to get pics of them in their swimsuits. Hiroki, focus! Focus! But Emily looked as if she had found something else.
あそこ見て、ウミガメがいる。おお、本当だ。
It wasn't so unusual to see green sea turtles around Ogasawara. And we've got a fact for green sea turtles. The Ogasawara Islands are Japan's largest breeding grounds for 3 turtles, and egg laying can be observed here. The population was falling, but with protective measures have been rebounded.
でっかいのね、ウミガメって。
There were schools of fish, too. Hey, there's a blackjack. And over there's a big-eyed trevally. Chisa noticed something and tapped Emily's shoulder.
ほら、あそこ。ん？あ。
On the other side of the school of tuna, near the seabed, we saw a crowd of divers. Tuna hate the exhaust bubbles from divers, so the divers stayed near the edge of the tuna hole. The divers kept watching the school from their position on the seafloor.
海の底に人がたくさんいる。変なの。
We peered down at the seafloor toward the crowd of people. It was certainly a curious sight for anyone seeing it for the first time.
ダイバーにとって海の中は怖い場所じゃないのね。
After that, we kept snorkeling for a while with Emily diving down past snorkel depth and Chisa chasing after her each time. After I ran through the roll of film, I went back up to the surface to drop off my camera.
よどうだマグロ穴は
It's amazing!
最高
Emily added as she popped up beside me. I handed the camera to Ryota.
久しぶりに来たけどやっぱり迫力あるわね
Chisa seemed more excited than usual.
りょうたくんはやらないの
It wasn't fair for us to keep all this fun to ourselves. It's what Emily seemed to be thinking.
俺はな
Ryota looked a bit conflicted.
もしかして泳げないとか
Emily had the pleased look of a villain who had just found the hero's biggest weakness. How rude.
いやそういうわけじゃないんだが魚を見ると捕まえて出荷したくなっちまうんだ
Ryota said as he stood and looked at the tuna hole hungrily.
ここのマグロを網にかけて一網打尽にしたいぜ
Yeah, I totally get it. Everywhere I look, I see ingredients. I keep thinking that would make a great sashimi. There was a huge blackjack just now.
おおいいね
マグロを食べるなんて私が許さないんだから
Emily, are you sure you didn't eat some of those when the dish that Hiroki made was one of them?
無茶言うなよ
Seriously, tuna's delicious.
人でなし小さこいつら人でなしよそうね私もお刺身食べたい小さまで
Clearly, people reacted very differently to the sea's beauty. After we returned to the water, we ended up snorkeling for an hour and a half. And with that, we're going to find out what else they did on the next episode. Oh, the cliffhangers! So as I mentioned before, I actually did go snorkeling before. It was a long time ago, but yeah, I went snorkeling in the Bahamas and I managed to see some coral reefs and a few other things. Even saw a school of fish as well. I'm not sure what species they were, but they were absolutely beautiful. Yeah, the Bahamas was absolutely beautiful as well. So I think it was like a 2-day or 3-day cruise ship to the Bahamas, then another 2 or 3 days to go back. Absolutely fantastic. That was pretty much the only time I've actually been out of the country. But yeah, it was absolutely fabulous. But with that, I want to thank everyone for watching this episode this time around. If you liked what you saw this time around, maybe consider leaving a like. And if you'd like to see more, if you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing. And until next time, happy mixing, everyone.